Today, we're diving into a really terrifying infection, one that starts with something as simple as a cut in the garden, but ends with a full-scale hijacking of your nervous system. We are talking about tetanus.
You know, we've all heard the warning, right? That classic childhood fear, step on a rusty nail and you're in for a world of trouble. But is the rust actually the bad guy here? Is that what we should be afraid of?
Well, it turns out the rust has nothing to do with it. It's a total red herring. The real danger is microscopic, and it lives in the soil and dust all around us. The nail? That's just the delivery service. The rust just tells you that the nail's been outside, where the real culprit is waiting.
So if it's not the rust, then what is it? It's time to meet the actual villain of this story.
This right here is Clostridium tetani. It's a bacterium that's found, well, pretty much everywhere in the environment, especially in soil, dust, and animal manure.
And this thing is perfectly designed to be dangerous. For starters, it's anaerobic, which means it absolutely thrives in places with no oxygen, like, say, a deep puncture wound. It also forms these incredibly tough spores that can resist heat and even disinfectants. But the real kicker, it produces one of the most powerful neurotoxins known to science.
And listen, it's not just about that rusty nail. Any break in the skin can be a doorway for this thing. We're talking about burns, crush injuries, animal bites, even tattoos or piercings. Sometimes the entry wound is so small that, in about 20% of cases, doctors can't even find it.
Okay, so the spores are in your body. What happens next is nothing short of a full-scale assault on your central nervous system.
So here's how the takeover goes down. The spores get into the wound, and in those nice low oxygen conditions, they start to grow and pump out their toxin. That toxin then hitches a ride along your nerves, or even through your bloodstream, straight to the central nervous system. And this is the critical part. It blocks the signals that tell your muscles to relax.
I mean, think about it like this. The toxin literally cuts the brake lines on your nervous system. All you're left with is the accelerator pedal, push the floor. With all those stop signals blocked, your motor neurons are just stuck on go, firing over and over and over. There is no off switch.
So, with the nervous system's brake lines totally severed, what does this uncontrolled muscle chaos actually look like? Well, the symptoms are pretty unforgettable.
It almost always starts right here. The first and most classic sign is something called trismus. Basically, the muscles in your jaw clamp down so powerfully that you can't open your mouth. This is exactly where the name lockjaw comes from.
As that toxin starts to spread, it hits the facial muscles. And what happens is it pulls the lips back into this grotesque fixed grin. It's known as rhesus sardonicus, or the sardonic smile.
And then, the really powerful muscles of the back and neck get involved, leading to epistetonos. The spasms here are so incredibly violent, they can actually arch the back to the point of breaking the spine.
From there, the attack just marches down the body. It hits the throat, making it impossible to swallow. It spasms the chest muscles, making it a desperate struggle to breathe. The abdomen becomes as rigid as a wooden board, and the limbs lock up, arms bent, legs straight. And the most horrifying part of all of this, the person is fully conscious through the entire thing.
And the outcome, well, it can be absolutely grim. Even with all the tools of modern intensive care, the mortality rate in adults can be as high as 50%. And for newborn babies who get it, the rate is just catastrophic, around 90%.
Okay, I know that sounds absolutely terrifying, but this is not a hopeless fight. In fact, this is a battle we know exactly how to win. Just look at the difference between treatment and prevention. It's night and day. Treating an active tetanus infection is this incredibly complex, high-stakes battle in an ICU. But preventing it? It's astonishingly simple and effective.
Which, of course, brings us to the most practical question of all. Life happens, right? You're out in the garden, you get a deep cut. What are you actually supposed to do?
Okay, this chart right here is probably the most important thing you'll see. Let's walk through it. It all comes down to two things: your vaccination status and what kind of wound you have. If you're fully vaccinated, that's the top row, you're pretty much in the clear with a clean, minor cut. If it's a dirtier wound, you might need a booster if your last one was more than 5 years ago. Now look at the bottom two rows. If you're not sure about your status, or you know you're not up to date, the answer is simple. For any kind of wound, you need a vaccine booster. And if that wound is dirty or serious, you'll also need something called tetanus immunoglobulin for immediate protection.
So after seeing all of that, the complexity of the disease, the agonizing symptoms, the intensive treatment, it all comes down to just one single thing that prevents this entire horrifying cascade.
This, the tetanus vaccine, is without a doubt one of the greatest success stories in the history of public health. It's safe, it's effective, and it is the single best answer to the threat of Clostridium tetani.
So let's bring this all home. We've seen the bacterium lurking in the soil. We've seen the toxin that cuts the brakes on the nervous system, and we've seen the absolutely devastating results.
But we've also seen the simple, powerful solution. And that really just leaves one final question. It's not about the rust on the nail, it's about being prepared. So, do you know when you had your last tetanus shot?